Salutations, Illumineers, and welcome back to the Lorcana Rundown. I'm Silver.
I'm Andrew.
And I would like to speak with the manager.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
So we're a little bit late on the announcements. Last week there was some major tournament action in Lorcana. We had a 5K invitational run by TCGPlayer and Apex Gaming, the culmination of weeks of qualifiers. And yeah, no surprise, Amber Steel kind of cleaned up.
Yep, Amber Steel.
Though our first place was Amber Sapphire.
Ooh.
That was actually a fun list to look at. There were 16 players, 4 winners of the invitationals.
Yep.
12 competitive Magic players, and the owners of Apex Gaming.
Wow. That is some questionable ethics.
I wouldn't say it's questionable ethics so much as,
well,
can you really call it a 5K invitational when it's basically a bunch of professional Magic players, the guys that own the venue, and then 4 people who kind of won their golden tickets in an open event?
Well, I think personally we have to look at a couple different things here. What was the invitational process? Like, how did they get the invites? You know, did they have to win a certain event? You know, that type of deal.
Well, the invitationals, there were 3 large events that were qualifiers for the people that came in that weren't Magic invitees. Okay. Those were really pretty large tournaments. Those are the ones we've been talking about with the 1K prizes, and I think that's where we first encountered the Emerald Amethyst upset.
Gotcha.
But yeah, our top 4 decks, we had Harlan Freer playing Amber Sapphire. We had Dawn, I'm going to butcher this, I apologize, Dawn Delosier with Amber Steel, Mason Clark with Amber Sapphire, and Frank Carlston with Amber Steel. And all 4 of those people are at least professional level Magic players.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't surprise me. I think there is probably another conversation about, you know, this. I mean, in my opinion on this, does it seem weird? Sure. But the state of Magic, that's a whole different topic, not for this show. I'm not going to go into that.
That would be your turn to rant.
It would not surprise me it doesn't surprise me that there are Magic players playing this game, because it is a ever-growing popular game. It has really good events. It has a good simplistic system.
My issue isn't that they're Magic players. Please, I play Magic, you play Magic, I love Magic. That's a whole other rant for a whole other video.
Yes.
My concern is that this is sort of the big headline banner premiere event coming out of the gate. It was definitely the biggest, most advertised tournament out there, and it's really high profile because you're backed by TCGPlayer.
Sure.
I don't know if setting that up where your field is 12 battle-tested, tournament-tested players from other games who are there strictly to compete as players of this other game, rather than people who have come to your invitational qualifiers as players of the game you're actually doing the tournament of.
I can see your argument. At the same time, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Because for me, I'm viewing this is a new game. There are new events coming up. There are new competitive events coming up. If they play Magic at a professional level, that's fine. I'm not viewing them as Magic players. I'm viewing them as Lorcana players, because that's what they're playing. That's what they're doing. And I know that's not something you're going to agree with, but that's the truth of the matter. That's what they're playing. If it's nothing now, if they're just there and they're automatically in because they're Magic players, that's where it becomes wrong.
Well, see, that was my impression of how this was set up in the first place, is these are Magic players that have a relationship already with TCGPlayer and Apex. They were automatically invited, and then the last couple spots went to people who won the qualifiers.
I would want to see the full details of how they got in before I start making assumptions.
Personally. Oh, but the internet is all about assumptions.
Yes, the internet
That's what we're here for.
I think we need more information before we can make assumptions like that, in my opinion. The way that I'm looking at it right now, of just how it looks like it's supposed to be a bunch of Magic players that are playing Lorcana, and however the Invitational rules and stuff went, or, the qualifications to get an invite, that's something I would like to know to make a fair assumption. I can basically leave it as this. If it's based off prior relationships with TCGPlayer and stuff like that, and they didn't actually have to go to a qualifier and win the invite, then sure, I'd have a problem with that. If it's not that, and they did win a qualifier that we just don't know about, then it's perfectly fine. That's basically where I would leave it at.
I think we're gonna have to agree to disagree there, but
that's fine. I mean, as I said before, I don't want to base it off assumptions.
I don't want it to sound like I'm making a no true Scotsman argument here. I really don't. So we're just gonna move on to TCGCon Miami's PPG Events OP Tour first event.
Nice.
So they're billing this as the premier organized play tour. PPG Events kind of announced this almost right after the launch of Chapter 1. And they wanted to make this out to be the big Lorcana circuit, kind of like how Star City Games or DreamHack is for Magic the Gathering. And I think they did a good job. Yeah. They had 237 players.
That's a pretty good job.
That is a big number, folks. And that is why they had to start telling people no, even though there wasn't a cap on the event, because there was a fire marshal's code involved.
Right, I remember us talking about that last time, yeah.
So, unfortunately, I can't blame the presence and power of Amber Steel and Amber Sapphire just on the fact that the TCGPlayer Invitational was Magic players, because our first place in Miami was Jose Feliciano with Amber Steel. Second place, Gabriel Torres, Amber Steel. Rounding out the top four, we had Renee Tetsunui. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, with Ruby Amethyst. And then three guesses. Michael Slate playing
Amber Steel.
Amber Steel. So it's clear, folks, as we run into the end of the first chapter, Amber Steel is the color combination to beat.
Sure.
That turn 3 people are dropping Tink on now?
Yeah, people can't. I mean, it'd probably at least be turn 4.
Still, an early big Tink. Grab your swords, double grab your swords. Do not like double grab your swords. No. Bad. It's a bad mid-range player.
It's really not a bad mid-range player. It's actually a really
No,
good
it's a really good one, and it messes me up every time, and I dislike it for the same reasons I dislike when Hebe prepares my board with a single Cusco on it. Anyway.
How else am I supposed to get rid of the Cusco?
I don't know. Touch him? But yeah, it was actually kind of a funny anecdote. I was watching the TCGCon coverage, and they ended up shifting around their feature events at certain points because it was just so much Ruby Amethyst.
Yeah, that mirror is not fun.
The mirror kept ending up on their stream, and people were just so tired of watching the Ruby Amethyst mirror match that they were like, please, let's put this Emerald Steel deck on the screen. And actually, it did pretty well.
Yeah.
It was a really cool deck. I was excited to see it. The top 3 played at TCGCon Miami were obviously Amber Steel, Ruby Amethyst, and then Rounding out the top 3 archetypes was Emerald Amethyst, which is currently being billed as the budget deck.
Sure.
Emerald is a good color for that, though.
Yeah, very much so.
Most expensive card in the color right now is Kuzco, for good reason.
Well, John Silver's getting up there,
Oh,
too.
John Silver, yeah, I do think he crested the $20 mark.
Yeah.
But you can build that deck pretty easily under $200. So, yeah, it kind of is the budget choice right now. There's an argument right now on a couple of the Discords, actually, about whether or not you can actually classify it as a Tier 1 competitive deck. People are saying it's closer to Tier 2 or Tier 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get very defensive and angry here and say that it is still very good, and
it is very good.
I don't like people making fun of my deck. Be nice to my deck.
It's a good deck. Tier lists are always questionable and opinionated.
Everybody has one, but
so I think that's it for tournament results.
That is it for the tournament results I brought anyway.
Yeah.
So what? Let's try this again.
Okay.
That's it for the tournament results I brought. But there is some good news coming off of Twitter just before we came into the studio.
I saw that.
So Ravensburger and Team Lorcana announced that in Q2 of 2024, so that's what, the spring?
Roughly.
We will be seeing our first official organized play events and fan events.
Yay!
So there is going to be an official Ravensburger run. Hopefully it'll be professional, but it'll be organized play. It's gonna be a blast, and they do now have working on the website links to the organized play rules and correction guidelines for any of my aspiring judges out there. We still don't have news on when or how we'll be getting into a judge program, but there's never a better time to start studying than right now.
Yeah.
Excuse me, especially since some of the rulings coming out with Rise of the Floodborn are getting pretty complicated.
Yeah.
That bag of marbles is going to be hard to track for a lot of players. They also announced today the promos for the conventions.
Ooh, yeah.
They're not going to be stamping them with the convention symbol anymore, like they did with the Musketeers. They're going to have the same rarity stamp as the organized play promotions.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to have that sort of like double swoopy looking.
No, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
I guess it's backwards fish.
Something like that.
But that's where we're going to be seeing Rapunzel. I believe it's Pinocchio and I don't remember the third one. Daisy Duck, maybe?
I don't think it was Daisy. I think it was a Sapphire card. It was this one.
Oh, 4 dozen eggs. Okay. But those are going to be your convention promos for the next set. And they've announced that they plan on doing a different set for each, or a different group of promos for each set with unique foiling. So that should be interesting.
Definitely.
But I'm definitely going to be sad to see the, event stamp go away, because I thought that was a really nice way to say, hey, I went to Gen Con.
I stood in that line.
I stood in that line at Gen Con. I played Lorcana. I'm still trying to get, by the way, the European Musketeers. If anybody would like to trade with me, drop me a comment.
That's
Twitter. But I think that's actually all we have for today. Now that I've gotten that sort of vitriol out of my system.
Sure.
TCGPlayer. I'm so disappointed.
You're fine. Don't worry about it. So yeah, that's going to be it for the Lorcana rundown. Make sure you leave us a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Also, make sure you check out our little family, the Game Talk Network, on GameTalkNetwork.com. Has a little bit of everything for everyone. But yeah, that's going to be it for us today. I've been Andrew.
I'm Silver.
And we'll see you next time.